Alright folks, it's something a little bit different today. When I woke up this morning it was minus 34 Celsius, and right now outside it's about minus 28, and I'm not even kind of kidding. So we'll read one from inside today, inside from a special location. Alright, this will be the Rhylian Raven, Chapter 4. "Bring him over to the chair," commanded the witch. Her companion turned and favored her with a glare. "Please, Jadine," she added. Jadine turned back to me and half closed his eyes. He motioned with his hands while murmuring, and I found myself lifted and placed, none too gently, into the sitting chair in the corner of the room. I felt invisible cords bind me in place, though the previous paralyzing spell was gone. I could at least blink now, and tremble. The witch walked towards me. I admit that despite my dire situation, I was struck by her graceful lithe figure, only barely covered by the silk shift. "See something you like?" I wasn't feeling particularly suave. "How about you start telling us who hired you before I remove your organs one at a time?" she asked while turning her finger in a circle, leaving a trail of orange light in its wake. Gods, I hated wizards, but she certainly was stunning. "There were 3 warriors that," I began, when suddenly there was an enormous flash and bang from behind them both. My chair was thrown back against the wall, and both of my detainers were knocked off their feet. They were up instantly, spinning to face the disturbance. Both stopped when they saw what, or rather who, was there. A comely young gentleman dressed in black robes. His hair was shockingly white, and his eyes were an ancient blue. Both his hands were raised, with one pointed at the wizard and the other at the witch, in a manner that conveyed an imminent threat. He gestured at them to stand down, and both of them stood up straight from their fighting postures. A slow smile came over his face. "Hello, Marla. Hello, Jadine. Been a long time." "Damn it," Jadine said, shaking his head. "Sorrows, I'm sorry," stuttered Marla. "Please be quiet, Marla," said the new wizard. "Actually, I take that back. Tell me where my raven is." "Why should we give it to you?" Jadine asked. "There are 2 of us, and we took you before." "You surprised me when I was at a disadvantage last time, my apprentice. This time I'm ready. And I've had a lot of time to prepare for you. I've learned a few new tricks over the years, too." "Got a new body, too, I see. You like it?" "I had to do something. You made a terrible mess of my previous body, didn't you?" "I suppose so. Still, you're not getting the raven." "Got it locked away somewhere, do you?" "Well, if that's the way you feel about it, then all right, but I'm not leaving empty-handed. It took me a lot of effort to find you 2. I'll be killing you both before I go." With this, Sorrows raised his hands, and little flickers of light started to pass between his fingers. Jadine ducked back into a fighting stance, but Marla yelled, "Wait!" The 2 rival wizards glared at each other, but neither moved. The crackle of the tiny lightning filled the silence. Gods, did I wish I were somewhere else. "It doesn't even work. It's damaged," the witch spoke into the tense silence. "Shut up, Marla," Jadine hissed at her. "No, Marla, do. Please continue." "We were trying to get to the academy in Bosconia. We thought the thaumaturge artificers might help find what's wrong and possibly restore its function. But we don't know for sure. Right now it's completely useless." "How is this possible?" "It probably happened because of Ling Castle." "What? What do you mean?" "Forget it. It doesn't matter. I still want it, or I will have your lives." "Come try, old man." No, wait! Marla raised her hands in supplication. We have it secured in a dimension safe. Marla, no! The safe is operated by 2 passwords, Jadine's and mine. I'll give you my password if you let me live. Marla, we can take him. My password is shh. When she said the word, my head hurt. It was in that same magical language. That's fine, Marla. Now give me Jadine's password. I don't know it. Marla, are you trying to tell me Jadine didn't trust you with his password? When the safe is being unlocked, the passwords are magically garbled as you say them, so I've never heard his password. Maybe you two aren't as close as you think. Marla made the right choice, Jadine. Give me your password. Go to hell, Jadine replied. Already been there, Sorrows mused. Didn't care for the decor. As Sorrows finished his sentence, lightning erupted from his fingers and hit Jadine square in the chest. The apprentice wizard was knocked off his feet, into the wall beside me and slumped to the floor. I started from the impact, and also from stray smaller bolts finding their way to me. As for you, Marla, forgive me if I'm not too trusting. He gestured at her, and her arms became pinned at her sides as if by invisible ropes. I knew how she felt. Jadine was stirring as Sorrows walked towards him. Sorrows bent down and said, Let's get that password out of your mind. Since you must have just opened the door, this shouldn't be too agonizing. Let me show you a little something that I've been working on for just such an occasion. Reaching into his robes, Sorrows pulled out a paste and rubbed it into his temples. Then he incanted in that gibberish language and my head hurt again. But my head didn't hurt anywhere near as bad as Jadine's. He let out a blood-curdling shriek as Sorrows finished his spell and leaned forward to place his fingers onto either side of Jadine's head. What looked like smoke drifted out of Jadine's mouth and into Sorrows. The horrible spell continued while Jadine's body convulsed in a rictus of agony. Midway through, the pressure was so great that both his eyeballs exploded, covering Sorrows with gore, which he casually ignored. Finally, Sorrows let go of Jadine's temples, and the spent wizard slumped to the floor, mewling. Sorrows waved a hand at Marla while wiping bits of blood and eyeball from his face. Her arms came free. I have the password. Now conduct the spell to open the door. She nodded hurriedly and began the spell. At a signal from her, Sorrows spoke a word in that language. Jadine's password? The outline of the door began to form mid-air. Then he spoke again. I guess that was Marla's. But nothing happened. He turned and faced the outline of the door and spoke the word again, but just as he was doing so, Marla came up behind him incanting. Her right arm struck forward, and out of it emerged a smoky serpent, which coiled and drove its fangs into Sorrow's neck. He arched straight upright, then began to lurch around the room, holding his neck. He tried vainly to cast a counterspell, digging ingredients out of his robe, but his movements were jerky, and he dropped what he was holding. His face was turning purple as he bounced off the bed and fell to the floor. A horrible noise came from his mouth as he writhed in pain. His arm shot out towards Marla, and she cringed, ducking down, but nothing happened. He twitched once more, then was still. Old fool, Marla said as she stood up and stepped over the body to the outline of the dimension door, still hanging in the air. She spoke in the language again, and abruptly light filled the room from the open door as it had before. She reached into the magical safe and pulled out the raven. With a swish of her hand, the safe disappeared with a pop. I can't believe that worked, she said as she walked over to Jadine, who was sobbing on the floor. All the worry, running, and fear, all over just like that. Marla, Jadine wept, please help me. My eyes, my mind. Oh, Jadine, just look at you. We were powerful together, we really were. but we were no match for Sorrows. I don't know how he lived or found us, especially after so long, but he had us cold. My one chance was to distract him with the only thing that would hold his attention, the Raven itself. Giving him the wrong password bought me just enough time to hit him from behind with the serpent spell. You should have just told him your password. He would have killed me anyway. He was very jealous. As you say. I thought you were betraying me. I wouldn't betray you, my love. My love, my mind, Marla. I can't think straight. Please help me. I will, dear. Marla went to the closet and came back with a gleaming dagger. It's unfortunate, but your mind and body are ruined. I don't know if Sorrows will stay dead this time, but if not, it will take him time to recover, time I can use to hide and prepare. And the best part is, I don't need your password to open the safe. So I don't really need you anymore, do I? She sat silently by the moaning man, stroking a wisp of his hair. You were a good man, Jadine, she said, as she positioned the dagger above his heart. Impulsive but good. I'll miss you. She plunged the dagger into his heart, and the blinded wizard gasped once, then expired. It was probably a blessing. Then she stood up and turned her cold eyes on me. Now for you, my thieving friend. She was quite the sight, with blood dripping from her dagger. As she stepped towards me, I braced for a cold thrust of the blade, but then realized I was no longer being magically held. I waited for her to get closer. There would be only one chance to use this new secret to my advantage. Our confrontation was postponed by the door bursting open and surprising both of us. Clintan, Levan, and Eli rushed in and halted when they saw the bodies, and Marla holding her dagger over me. Dropping the dagger, she swept her open hand out, uttering another spell, and the three were pushed back and pinned against the wall. Well, well, well. Look who's come to join our little party. You were speaking of 3 warriors before we were so rudely interrupted, she looked at me. Are these the ones? I nodded vigorously, pretending to still be held. Good boy, she said as she patted my face. As for you 3, she lifted her arm at the door, which slammed shut. I am most curious about how you and our little thief fit in. Indulge my curiosity enough, and I might even let you live. Looking at the wreckage of the room, I thought to myself, that wasn't very likely. Dun dun dun.